Well, good morning, NVC. It is so good to see you. Thank you, Maureen, for the introduction. And thank you, Mark, for that brilliant song. Spirit's talking to you. Spirit's been talking to you, through you. So yes, today is a lovely Sunday. Rev Karen is off on her sabbatical goodness this summer, not in Phoenix. And Lezli is doing exciting things in California, part of Karen's hooding team, which is a real honor. And so they called on me to speak. Not 9:30 last night, so that was a plus. But weeks ago, and I nervously, excitedly agreed. It's an honor to be trusted to come up here and share a message. And then part of me freaked out. Me? I mean, maybe that was like a one-off in February when Karen was sick and I got to say a thing and it worked out. But like, what do I have to say? And in this season of infinite voices of truth, is there any way that truth can come out of me? My mind just went completely blank. And I decided I better take a nap. Because one time I read this really great story by the American writer Brian Andreas, and this is what he says. Most of the stuff I say is true because I saw it in a dream, and I don't have the presence of mind to make up lies when I'm asleep. And I thought, okay, I'm going to just go to sleep, and I'm going to dream a thing, and then I'll talk, and then it will be fine, right? Hello? My name is Rachel Sartori, and I struggle with knowing my voice of truth. Anybody else have that experience? For me, the struggle shows up as I question my own thoughts and beliefs, as I minimize my desires, as I write off things that occur to me. And with about 60,000 thoughts moving through our human minds per day, the struggle to trust what rises up is real. And I've been working this edge of my own interiority for the last number of years, really leaning into the possibility and the growing reality that I can trust what rises up. I can trust that I'm going to know what is mine to know with clarity and confidence. But it has not always been easy. To be honest, I adopted a belief early in life that I couldn't trust myself. I couldn't trust myself to know anything, let alone the truth. And to suggest that I could was potentially blasphemous, dangerous, prideful. The truth had to come from some wise other, preferably a pastor, a teacher, or a parent, definitely somebody with something that I simply didn't possess. I remember feeling really confused because there were things that I thought about and that I knew and that made a lot of sense somewhere inside of me, but I was terrified to own them, to really know them as my own, because I was afraid to be perceived as being wrong or disrespectful or bad. What if I was somehow less than other people? What if my knowing was somehow less worthy or less valuable or less true than someone else's knowing? When what we experience, feel, or know within ourselves runs counter to what we perceive is expected or accepted from the world around us, we tend to go one of two ways. We can either deflate, I don't know anything, or we can inflate, I'm the only one that knows anything. Consider your own history with knowing your version of truth through you. Have you tended towards the deflation or the inflation? Or some mix between the two? And what has been the impact on others or on yourself? Today, we're going to lean into this edge of our interiority, the tangly point where the discomfort we experience when what we feel and know inside runs counter to what we perceive is acceptable from the outside. And as we untangle some of these things, we're going to see what divine truth rises up and where it leads us to go next. Are you willing to go on this little journey with me? All right, so let's start at the very beginning. Babies. And this is my baby. This is Eliana when she was a little teeny tiny baby. And here is what is true when we are brand new born in the world. It is natural to look to the big ones, to wise others for guidance, for direction when we're little and trying to make sense of a complicated and confusing world. Human infants, we need big others to clothe us, to get food to our mouths, to protect us. Then, as we develop our capacity to put our own clothes on and get the food to our own mouths, we still tend to look to bigger, wiser others to help us make sense of the complex world. So Eliana, bless her heart, got real good at dressing herself. And yet there's still this process of something we can learn that I can teach her, she can learn it. When we're little, we look to family, maybe community members, and it kind of makes sense. If I want to know a thing and you know how to do it, then I want to learn from you, right? But what about when I want to try it myself? And what about when I want to learn in a different way? Or what if the way that you're telling me to do it doesn't actually make sense to me yet? When we're little, it is natural to look to the big ones, to wise others for guidance and direction. But it is also natural to begin finding our own way that will likely be a different way from anybody else's way. And this can inevitably cause a little friction because different tends to make adult humans a little twitchy. So ideally, the bigger, wiser others, hopefully they're going to be attuned, present, supportive, regulated in themselves, and self-responsible, which would allow them to respond in supportive and appropriate ways to whoever they're guiding. Ideally, they'll notice their twitchiness and discern what will be most helpful in the given situation, ideally. So here we have lovely Eliana with a straw in her ice cream cone. Ideally, as parent, I can maybe respond as, oh, wow, that's interesting, Eliana, putting a straw in ice cream. I've never thought of that. How interesting. I wonder what's going to happen. But this doesn't always happen. Sometimes the bigger, wiser other in our life, they were not able to be attuned to us. They were not regulated. Sometimes they were not responsible for themselves. Sometimes they did not respond to us in a supportive way that we needed. Eliana, what are you thinking putting a straw in your ice cream cone? That's not what we do. It's confusing to know something instinctively or intuitively or simply be curious to discover life for ourselves, but be told by someone bigger or wiser that our way, our different way, isn't okay. Who do you believe? From the moment we were born, we were inundated. We have been inundated by a world of bigger people telling us who we were and how to be. And I don't know about you, but that didn't necessarily change when I learned how to put my own clothes on and feed myself, or when I got bigger. It can happen any time we are looking to another human for direction, guidance, connection, belonging. And then what we receive or perceive from them doesn't match what we are thinking or what we want or what we need. And that dissonance becomes painful when we interpret it to mean that we're wrong or unsafe or not enough. Somewhere along the line, as I mentioned earlier, we can either move into that deflated. We can move into that deflated thinking that we can't trust ourselves, that it isn't safe to trust ourselves, that we need someone else to tell us how to be. Or we can inflate and decide that we don't need anyone else to tell us anything. And the deflated voice, it can sound like, I don't know. Tell me what to think. Tell me what to do. Tell me who to be. And the inflated voice can sound like, I know. Don't tell me who to be. Don't tell me what to think. Both of these voices are frenetic in their own way, fear-based, rooted in separation, and rigid thoughts that there's a right way and a wrong way, and are hustling to make sure they're not in the wrong. When we engage with either of these, the deflation or the inflation, we might experience a momentary relief. We might experience momentary direction or momentary connection. We might feel momentarily justified in our individuality. But it can't last because it's not rooted in truth. Neither the, I don't know, tell me, or the, I know, don't tell me, neither of those is a satisfying place to live because they reveal that we're ultimately out of alignment with the deeper truth that has been present in us from the very moment we were born. We are one in the one infinite reality. Oneness. Oneness is a foundational principle in our Science of Mind teaching, and Centers for Spiritual Living describes this principle as follows. There is one infinite reality. We call it many names, including but not limited to God, life, universal spirit, infinite intelligence, first cause, or the thing itself. The one infinite reality is undivided. It is complete and whole within itself. This oneness creates everything out of itself and therefore includes both the absolute and relative, tangible and intangible, physical and metaphysical aspects of reality. It is the one infinite mind knowing in, through, and as all of life. That means clear knowing has been in you all along. When you were brand new in the world, when you were a baby and you had a need, you cried to express it. Just because you didn't have a word for it, hungry, just because you didn't have the ability to say that word, just because you didn't have the skill set to get food to your mouth, just because some bigger other had an idea that if a baby cries, they're hungry, just because they had the skill set and the dexterity to get the food to your mouth, doesn't mean that their knowing is better than yours. Knowing has been active and revealing through you since always. This feels really important for me to emphasize. It has always been in you. If there is only one and it knows in, through, and as all that knowing has always been at the very center of who you are, your particular flavor and style of knowing is completely and appropriately unique to you. The one infinite reality can only express in the just right way through you. The always truth is that you are one in the one. Spirit knows in a unique way through you right now. And just because someone else who may have been bigger or wiser knows things doesn't make their knowing inherently more true than your own. In fact, every time we question ourselves or aggressively defend ourselves, we erode that natural sense of confidence and trust that is known right where we are. In his What We Believe statements, our founder Ernest Holmes expressed, "We believe in the direct revelation of truth through our intuitive and spiritual nature, and that anyone may become a revealer of truth who lives in close contact with the indwelling God." And so here is the invitation to notice when we're engaging in the frenetic energy of either the "I don't know, tell me," or the "I know, don't tell me." And we can notice because these energies are fear-based. They're rooted in separation, and they're bound by these rigid thoughts of right or wrong. For me, I can tell that I'm caught in deflation if I'm worried that I'm going to do something wrong, or if I'm worried what someone else might think, or if I'm feeling tangled in indecisiveness. And I can tell that I'm caught in inflation if I defensively disregard what anybody else thinks, or if I reactively write off any negative impact of my behavior, or if I bulldoze a decision because I said so. And I invite you to think for a moment, what might you notice that can tell you that you might be caught in either deflation or inflation? So after we notice this, the next invitation is to pause, to literally stop and take a breath and consciously acknowledge to ourselves what we just noticed with as much compassion as we can muster in the given moment. For me, this can sound like a deep breath out and whispering to myself, "Oh man, I notice I'm really worried and feeling tangly right now. I feel deflated." Or, "Ooh, yipes, I notice I'm really revved up, feeling a bit inflated right now." And it looks for me like putting my hand on my heart as a way to be kind to myself. What could it look like for you to pause? And after we pause, we get to remind ourselves that the always truth is that I am one in the one, and Spirit knows in a unique way through me right now. You'll know you're tapping into this knowing because it is by nature clear, calm, confident, and compassionate. When we are grounded in deep knowing, we can discern who to listen to and whether that is a wise one from outside of us or it is our own wise selves from within. We'll know what to take in and what to release without fear, without hustle, without defense or doubt. And if fear or doubt or defense or hustle does show up, we'll notice that we have a capacity to be with those energies without them pulling us either into the deflated self or the inflated self. This practice of noticing, pausing, and remembering is one that allows us to listen beneath the pull of our human conditioning to realize that indeed we do know. It is about accessing the depths of who we are as one in the one infinite reality of life. It is here, that we realize we are called to be our own spiritual authority by the power invested in us by the one who called us into being. Yes, there will likely be some surface level angst every now and again because we are human, but the ongoing journey is to continue deepening into our knowing from our inherent connection to Spirit. As we listen in this deep way, we are drawn into fuller alignment with the one mind that knows all. And as we trust what rises up, as well as our capacity to discern what to take in and what to let go of, we reveal the power that compels us to live our own unique and holy divine lives in just right way for Spirit as us. In The Art of Life, Ernest Holmes writes, "What the wisest have known is only a little more than you or I. They cannot answer your questions for you. You will have to answer them yourself. Even the best man who ever lived could not live for you. You will have to live for yourself. You do not have to borrow power from anyone. You are compelled to live your own life." And so, each of us must find our own way to notice the impulse to deflate or inflate, to pause and remember that Spirit is right where we are, compelling each of us to express in a unique and holy divine way we are led. My own growth edge with this has been in my call to ministry. You may or may not know this, but I grew up in the Mennonite church, and I was exuberantly committed to my Christian faith. When I was 15, I first sensed my call. It was exhilarating, and I always felt firm, loving support from my parents. But what I was really looking for was the affirmation from the church leaders and my pastor. Those were the wise others that I was just waiting to be seen by. I so wanted to believe that what I felt internally was true, but what if I was wrong? What if it was bad? I needed these wise others to affirm my call from the outside. And I struggled with this because I couldn't help but be active in church. I couldn't help but lead Bible studies and lead worship and dabble in seminary classes. I couldn't help but do that. But all along, I was waiting for them to say, "Rachel, we see you. We see this call of God on your life, and we endorse it. We support you." And it didn't happen. And there were people that saw me and celebrated my gifts, but the leadership and the pastor never affirmed my call. And at one point, I was declined for a position because they were concerned that I was too young and I didn't have a seminary degree. And it seemed fair. I thought, well, I'll just get older and I'll just go to seminary and then they will affirm me. But what was particularly confusing in that experience was that they ended up wanting to hire somebody who was younger than me and who didn't have a seminary degree either and who had never been in a Mennonite church. And I was so confused. And when I sought understanding and guidance because I was committed to those wise others, I was told they couldn't talk to me about it. And I thought, could I have been wrong this whole time? Is something wrong with me? I was looking to those wise others for guidance and direction, but what I received from them didn't match what I knew to be true. And that dissonance was particularly painful when I interpreted it to mean that I was wrong. I felt my flame of faith grow dim, and I ended up walking away from the Mennonite church in 2017. And I found myself cautiously exploring this place called New Vision Center for Spiritual Living. And it felt kind of edgy and rather scary. I had only ever known Christian faith through the Mennonite perspective. But it was undeniable that I also felt deep resonance, spiritually fed, safe, seen, and loved. There's a particularly poignant passage from an Old Testament prophet which has stayed with me over the years. And it says, "Whether you turn to the right or turn to the left, your ears will hear a voice behind you. This is the way. Walk in it." It was one of those ways that Spirit was talking to me through infinite voices of truth. I heard it as an affirmation that I could trust the voice of truth from within myself, and I would not be led astray. It, along with all the other ways that Spirit has been talking to me, continues to resonate with the truth already alive at the very center of my being. What I know is that even though those wise others had the way that they were expressing in life, it doesn't mean that their knowing is better knowing than the knowing I have within myself. I get to claim my own spiritual authority, and from that place of deep knowing, discern what to take in, what to release, what to trust that is rising up. And so I am proud to stand on this platform, and I can declare with clarity and ease that I am called to ministry. This I know. And yes, there is still tender fear because I don't know what happens next. But I can hold that fear with tenderness and compassion, knowing that it will be revealed when it is time. My job is to keep noticing my impulse to deflate or to inflate, to pause, and to remember the truth of my oneness in spirit. And so this is the ongoing journey for all of us, to notice when we're engaging in either of those energies that says, "I don't know, just tell me," or "I know, don't tell me," and to pause, and to be compassionate with ourselves. And then to remember that the always truth is that I am, you are, one in the one. Spirit knows in a unique way through each of us right now. So, blow off the chaff that doesn't carry the weight of clarity and kindness and compassion, and anchor yourself over and over in what you do know. Step forward as the unique and holy divine expression of Spirit that you are. This is the way. Walk in it. This I know. Thank you. Thank you. Oh. Thank you. Let's anchor this in prayer. Oh, and so I just take a breath into this now moment, and I recognize that there is only one power, one presence, one infinite mind that knows in, through, and as all of life, from the wisest of the wise to the baby that was just born, that it is all God, and that the infinite mind knows, and that knowing is certain, is calm, is compassionate, and that above all, it expresses love. And as I know that there is only one, I know that it is that which I am. I know that there is no separation between that which called me into being and that which I am. And as I know this for myself, I know this for each beloved in the sanctuary, online, in the sound of my voice, that each one is right where Spirit is, that there is no separation between their heart and the one that called them into being. And as I know that this is the truth, that there is only one, I speak my word on behalf of each one here. That however the questions of the world or the questions of the heart show up as I don't know or I only know, I know that that just falls away. And that what remains is the clarity and calm of knowing groundedness and anchoredness in the truth of the one. And that each person here is equipped and strengthened to hear their own voice of infinite truth that rises from the very center of who they are. And I know that each one here has the capacity to discern when they hear voices coming in from the outside to say, yes, that resonates. I receive that. Or, no, that is not mine. I can let that go. And that in the end, Spirit is simply more powerfully revealed through each expression, through each heart, through each voice. That there is no need to hustle, no need to be afraid, that it is safe and so good to express Spirit as we are right here and right now. And so I simply know that this is so already. And I am grateful to know that God is that which each one of us is. So I release my word into the action of the law, knowing that it is already done. And together we anchor this prayer in together by saying, and so it is.